Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and I'm very good with scissors.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. On the web, ntnm.org, all of our shows on YouTube. Hundreds of thousands have watched. You can see all the interviews over the last 8 years. Check out all the politicians running for office. You definitely should be there. caps24.org. Jewish Chicago will be coming out for the start of early voting. Our circulation will be a minimum of 60,000 strong. Any place you can find corned beef, matzo ball, you name it. We're going to be there. And even more than that, but we're not going to reveal our locations to the competition, because I worked for years culling the market that way. In any event, it is a pleasure to have. Oh, so if you'd like to participate in Jewish Chicago, contact me. And happy to do it for you. And if you want to come on the show before the election, contact me now. Don't figure, well, I'm going to wait till mid-October. By then, I'll have filmed all the shows. We've got to submit them in advance. So, too late. Early, often, just like voting. It is a pleasure to introduce you to the commissioner of the 13th District of Cook County, who's running for re-election to a third term, I believe. Fourth term, wow, time flies when you're having fun. And somebody who's running again against massive competition. We're talking about Commissioner Larry Suffredin. How you doing?
Avi, good to be with you.
First of all, a pleasure as always. And your massive competition doesn't have a name because there's nothing next to you on the ballot.
I've been very fortunate this election cycle. Nobody ran against me in the primary, and nobody's running against me here, which is
Good taste on their part.
Yeah, well, it allows me to spend some time in helping other candidates and to doing things that I think are important at the county to try and improve our quality of government there.
No, that's always a good thing, definitely.
Yeah.
So in terms of, what are the important issues in the county to you right now?
Well, the hospital. We're going through with the Affordable Care Act. A lot of changes because for the first time we have a lot of people who are getting their first opportunity to have health care. And many of these people have ignored their health care issues for years. So while they're getting Medicaid, our hospital is having to treat them for all kind of illnesses that they've had for years. So it's put a strain on our system, but we're at a very good point. We have a new president, Dr. Jay Shannon, who took over for Dr. Ram Raju, who went to New York City to be with Mayor de Blasio. But I think, that's where I spend a lot of time. I spent a lot of time today working with them on their budget, and their budget's now about $1.5 billion, so it's a sizable operation.
Yeah, if there's anything left over, just put it in a paper bag, small, unconsecutive numbered bills.
Well, we want you to get your health care, make sure you stay healthy. And
that I try. And by the way, I actually, at one time I used to believe that if you don't see a doctor, you won't get sick. And I wound up in the hospital with something that could have been easily treated years earlier.
Well, and if you had gone to a real hospital instead of that animal hospital, you would have really seen a doctor instead of.
Actually, this was a University of Chicago hospital, so.
Yeah, that's good. No, we all need to.
It was kind of near Lincoln Park Zoo, though. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, we all need to take care of ourselves, and one of the things the county has done since the Chicago fire is provide health care to those who are economically challenged in our society, and so that's where we're spending a lot of time. The other stuff is the forest preserves. Especially now that we're in the fall, really, if everybody could just try to get out and go for a walk in Harm's Woods over by the Holocaust Museum. There's just beautiful paths, and these are both hiking paths and bicycle paths and horse paths that people can walk through the woods, follow the north branch of the Chicago River. I mean, the colors are going to be remarkable in the next few weeks. So, and our Forest Preserve District, there's nothing like it anywhere in the world to have an urban center with that much protected land.
No, and it's beautiful. And the paths are nice. And one of these days, if I ever get on a horse, well, I got on a horse once in my life. I would love actually to be able to take advantage of some of those bridle paths.
Well, I just took my 3-year-old granddaughter and my 1.5-year-old grandson on their first pony rides
Cool.
this week, and it's always fun to watch kids who know from books what you're supposed to do with horses get on a horse and then hold on for dear life.
I was one of them. And that was actually my horse riding experience when I was a kid. But that was my favorite thing to do at any of these places was, the pony ride.
Yeah. Well, we have great pony rides every Saturday and Sunday in the Cook County Forest Preserves at the corner of Harms and Gulf Road.
Yeah.
So if people are out there with little kids, these are well-maintained animals. They are treated well, and they're right there next to the stables where there are a lot of beautiful horses that go out for rides in our forest preserve.
Yeah, actually, at one point in time, there were a number of horse farms down Church as you go west.
Exactly. Well, we still have in Morton Grove, I think, 4 stables that are still active, but there aren't as many as there were. And unfortunately, the cost of maintaining horses.
Well, it's not just the court. Some of those were actually active racing stables, and unfortunately, racing in Illinois has not been doing well.
Well, that's true. We used to have in Glenview, right on the forest preserve boundary, when I first became the commissioner, all kind of property that people had horses on their property, and they would just ride. They'd have little connector paths to the trails in the forest preserve district. But I think Glenview changed their ordinances, and we changed some of our ordinances. So now I don't think we have anybody left who's maintaining a horse and being able to go for a ride in the.
I just think that's such a nice thing. It's such but this isn't the country either. So
No. So if you want to see wildlife and animals that you might not see any other place, go to Wagner Farm in Glenview, off on Gulf Road.
I've seen it as Wagner Farm in Glenview.
Wagner and Lake Street, not Gulf. Wagner and Lake. It's a beautiful Glenview Park District facility.
Yeah, another good place to see wildlife too, for those of you who don't realize it, is right outside Wrigley Field during a Cubs game. So
Yes, those are called White Sox fans that are lost. They're lost.
Poor things. They don't realize the error of their ways.
Well, so we've got these elections coming up, and I've been trying to help Governor Quinn, who I think has been doing a great job under rather difficult circumstances. Most of our state rep and state senate candidates in the area are unopposed, but 2 really remarkable women do have opposition. One is Kelly Cassidy, who represents a little bit of Evanston and a lot of Rogers
She's been
Park.
on the show. I like her.
And she's a remarkable legislator. And the other is Laura Fine, who you told me was on the show recently.
Yeah, she was on the phone. She
And
was
is from Glenview.
I didn't know she had opposition.
Yes, she does. She's got a Tea Party woman running. But both of these women have just been remarkable legislators. I think that she's probably herbal.
Okay.
Both of these women have been exceptional legislators who've passed a number of bills and have been leaders in trying to resolve the issues of our state.
No, they're both. Listen, I happen to like them both very much, and I just had Laura Fine here within the last month for the first time, and she is really, to me, a shining example of a well-meaning individual who is in public office, and she is so well-meaning, I don't understand how she got elected in the first place.
Well, she got elected because the people understood that she saw issues that she wanted to change, and she has worked to change them. So.
And, I wish that was the case in more and more places. I really do.
Well, we're very lucky that the quality of representation up here is fairly good for all the elective offices. And we're in a unique time, though, in this election, because many of the people that we know are the incumbents, and the incumbents are people who are not looked upon with great pride by the general public. And so that's where Governor Quinn, I think, is running into a lot of problems, because he's been in office for 1 full term and the remainder of the Blagojevich term. But he certainly has taken on the challenges. He's got a wonderful new commercial where he's mowing his lawn with an old-style lawnmower and pointing out the number of things that he's done to stabilize Illinois. So we'll see how this all breaks out. I'm sure you're going to have an edition of Jewish Chicago out right before.
There will definitely be Jewish Chicago will be coming out for the start of early voting, and the logistics with the Jewish holidays are going to be interesting this year, but it'll be out, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, you know, we've got a number of changes in the law which give people the greater opportunity to apply online to get an absentee ballot, greater opportunity to vote. We have extra days now for early voting. So there's no excuse for not voting. One of the things that really strikes me is we put young men and women into harm's way in the military as we fight for democracy in foreign lands is how low our voter turnout is in this country. And we owe it to these men and women who are fighting for us to have large voter turnout. So I really encourage everybody to make sure you're registered and make sure you take advantage of one of the many ways that you can cast a ballot.
I agree 100%. It is so important. You know, you take a look at the situation in Ferguson, Missouri, where you have only 3, in a predominantly black town, you've got 3 out of 53 police officers who are black and no black elected officials. And it turns out that the black population there, only 12% of them vote. And they can have the whole town their way if they actually participate and do something about it. And the same thing applies here in Chicago and in the county of Cook and the state of Illinois. You know, there are so many people who don't take advantage of one of the greatest gifts you can possibly have. There are people in other countries who would fight and die to be able to democratically elect somebody.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to this election because I think it will be only the second of all the times that I've run that I can declare that I got 100% of the votes cast.
No, that'll be terrific. And listen, if you don't get 100%, we'll make it 101% even.
But I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, in theory, somebody could write in, but I wouldn't. I mean,
well, you have to be registered as a write-in candidate, and it's too late to do that now.
Oh, you have to be registered these
Oh yeah,
days.
oh yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. There are, you can't just write in. The rules continue to evolve and evolve and evolve. That's why your next guest is going to be Jim Nally, right?
Right.
Lawyers like Jim Nally make their whole career on being able to interpret the rules. You know.
No, that's very important. And by the way, I had somebody on next week's show who is running in the 15th district, and he told me that he tried to run in 2012 and he didn't understand the importance of an election lawyer.
Yes, well, he got knocked off the ballot.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, a lot of people get knocked off the ballot, but you know, the interesting thing is we've got this important gubernatorial race, and Senator Durbin, who's running against the ice cream magnate, who recently told me about his ice cream store in Skokie. He said it was one of his better stores, but I've never been there because I told him I'd drive by it on my way to Culver's, but he didn't seem to, he didn't seem to feel that was funny. But and I noticed last night that he has another ice cream store in Lincolnwood, so he's kind of surrounding us. But we'd like him to run those ice cream stores and let Dick Durbin continue in the United States Senate. You know, both those races are clearly right here, and our television will be filled with commercials for those candidates. But you know, we've got coming up the mayoral race and the aldermanic races in the city of Chicago. And as an Evanstonian, I'm kind of envious of all this political activity going on south of Howard Street, because on the north side of Howard Street, we don't have any elections.
Well, actually, this time around, you're lucky. This is going to be I'm waiting to see what happens here, but this could be very tough. It could be very sick. It could be very sad. It could be very exciting. And that's all up to you, people out there, to actually go out and vote and do something about it.
Absolutely. I mean, hopefully there will be a spirited campaign for governor and for the U.S. Senate and for the mayor of Chicago to discuss the issues that are out there. And the current mayor, I'm sure, will defend his record, and he's an able defender. I have the privilege of representing his mother and father, who live in Wilmette.
Former doctor around Devon and Lincoln. Well, still a doctor.
Well, he's still a doctor. I
Think
think he may be retired or semi-retired.
He actually was my cousin's pediatrician.
He was a lot of people's pediatrician. I hear all those people say that. He really was a busy doctor.
And very popular and very well respected. It is a pleasure. So anyway, I thank you very much, Larry Suffredin, Commissioner
Glad
of the
to be
13th
here, Bobby.
District. Even if he had opposition, I would have strongly steered you to vote for Larry. You know, one of the things I like to do on this show is I want good people in government, whether they're on the left, whether they're on the right. You need the debate, but you need good people there, people who want to look after the public interest. And that's one thing I'll say about Larry. He's terrific at it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.